As we did with the challenge of setting up the Raspberry Pi, we will look at technology, resilience, and social support. Consider the following questions as we progress. Do you find yourself needing to adapt, change your beliefs, or persist with the challenge? What do you see as similarities when working with Node-RED and working with a group of people to solve a challenge? And finally, what positive coping skills are being used? Our social support system is expected to help us cope with challenges and adversity. Often a family member or members, close friend and associate will be part of that social support system. There are a myriad of methods that connect us, yet wouldn't it be nice to have the opportunity to simply share the thought that I'm thinking about you with those in our social support system? Could we do this as a text message to the mobile phones of everyone in the support system? Yes, certainly. But recall that our goal is to take an educational approach to exploring technologies. We expect to learn something about ourselves and technology from this exercise. An outcome might be a better understanding of empathy, a skill that gives us insight into another's world. Empathy is often described as putting aside our own beliefs and instead seeing through the eyes of another or walking in the shoes of another. It's important to understand that empathy is not the same as sympathy. Rather, it's a critical thinking skill that gives us insight. This creates a bridge to understanding and communication. Now, you'll want to collaborate with another person for this exercise. Who you want to work with is up to you, but consider someone with whom you're comfortable communicating, such as a family member, friend, or associate. We'll also be working on another type of communication, an entirely machine-based method of communication called Mqtt. Now, Mqtt, or Message Queuing Telemetry Transport, is a mouthful, is a simple messaging transport protocol for communicating between devices using a wireless network or the internet. Mqtt does not require extensive programming nor resources, making it ideal for data exchanges in machine-to-machine and Internet of Things, where devices need to exchange data with each other. These devices, called clients, communicate by joining, and that's called subscribing, to a central communication point called a broker. The broker dispatches messages between the clients. The client that sends or publishes a message to the broker does so with an identifying name called a topic, along with the message. Each client wishing to receive the message needs to be subscribed to that topic. So the topic becomes the common identifier, allowing each subscribed client to continue to receive messages sent by the broker. So let's assume that Mqtt will serve as a workable communication protocol, a technology method we will use for exchanging information within our social support system. How might this work? Let's say that Tom sends the message, "Hello World," using the topic name Group Alpha to an Mqtt broker. Because Dick and Harriet are also subscribed to the topic Group Alpha, they will receive the message. But Emma happens to be subscribed to Group Beta and will therefore not receive any message unless it originates from the topic Group Beta. We next need to identify a tool that will use Mqtt to allow the social support system to share the simple message of thinking about you. This development tool needs to be able to connect to devices and online services in support of the Internet of Things without the need of extensive programming. One such tool is Node-RED. Node-RED works in conjunction with our web browser to form a work area called a canvas for developing a program. Node-RED contains a menu called a palette of icon-like objects called nodes. We can drag and drop nodes to our canvas and connect them together. Each node provides a different function or operation, and together these form a program. Finally, we need to consider a physical device that can use Mqtt for communication. As our focus is on a learning process, we will look to a minimal technology that provides a simple pathway for using Mqtt. The Raspberry Pi gives us sufficient resources to fully develop our technology, and one of the many niceties of the Raspberry Pi is that it's bundled with Node-RED. So let's start up our Raspberry Pi. Running Node-RED is a multi-step process, and from the pull-down menu, we'll select Programming in Node-RED. This puts us into terminal mode. Notice that the example dialog tells us to point the browser to http 127.0.0.1:1880 as our server on the computer running Node-RED. Finally, we'll start the browser. For example, Chromium comes bundled with Raspberry Pi, and copy and paste the complete address into the browser to see the Node-RED development area. In the browser, Node-RED shows itself as a 3-column development area of nodes, flows, and info. To get familiar with any new programming environment, it's customary to develop what's known as a Hello World program. We do this by injecting the text Hello World and displaying it in some manner. To do this, we'll drag the inject node from the left column into the center canvas development area. This is identified as Float 1. In a similar manner, drag the debug node from the output suite of nodes onto the canvas. Wire the two nodes together. The final step is to test or deploy the program. This checks to see if our programming is likely to work. We then run the flow by clicking on the tab extending from the left side on the timestamp node. Click on the little bug icon in the info column to see the program messages, and we'll see the timestamp indicating the program has worked. But recall that we want to display the message, the text string Hello World, rather than a timestamp. So we'll adapt or edit the inject timestring node to do so. In the payload entry area, click on the small down arrow and select string. Type Hello World in the entry area of the payload. Editing has occurred, so again click on the deploy button to test the newly edited flow. Run the flow by clicking on the tab of the left side of the Hello World button and view the message in debug. So let's return to our questions and think about this exercise. First, did you find yourself needing to adapt, change your beliefs, or focus on persisting with the challenge? What helped you persist? Did you need to reach out and work with someone else to be more successful? Did you find yourself adapting to different ways of doing things to make the system work? After completing the program, did you find you went through a belief change resulting in a more confident attitude? Now, what did you see as similar when working with Node-RED and working with a group of people to solve a challenge? When faced with the challenge of writing a program, you had to get specific nodes to work together to create a solution. How are nodes similar to people in a social support system? How is linking nodes together similar to getting the people to work together to solve a challenging problem? How is creating a system of specialized nodes similar to creating a system of social support when dealing with challenging problems? Finally, what positive coping skills are being used? When you're facing a personal challenge and need to make a social support system to better deal with the challenge, what are some of the things you will want to keep in mind when selecting the people to help you with the challenges?